Good morning, hello, happy Monday, happy beginning to a new week. I don't have any music playing right now. I got some, I got a claim on a video. Uh, I'm not partner, so I'm not exactly sure what that means for me. Besides, I think that means that a video on YouTube would not be making money in that case. It was supposed to be one of those videos that's perfectly fine. So I'm guessing that in that case, I need to not use that music. So I'm not exactly sure what music I want to use. We can go back and use Pretzel, or we can not use any music whatsoever right now, or figure something else out. So I'll have to think about that. But in the meantime, we're going to continue working on state. I was able to work on the article a little bit yesterday. Also, Zilby's here. I can lower that a little bit so it's not bright. Hey, Zilby. So we'll see how long he hangs out with us. All right, so let's head on over. I'm not super happy with the layout that I have for working on course articles, so I think I'm gonna just sort of manually work on this and then figure out like what I really want it to be later. Because like the the auto layout type thing, I don't know. I felt like I was losing a lot of space. So let's just rename this to course articles. It also feels that uh, the template changed for our the shell, which so that's not too bad. So they moved the main. It used to be over here to the right. Now it's over here to the left. I think that's fine. I saw that yesterday, and I was wondering whether or not it was because I had sort of zoomed out so much. But today it seems to be over there too, even if I'm zoomed in. So that's fun. Okay, so course articles. Did I just do a git? I think I just did a git pull. Oh, the fun of doing things in the morning. All right, I've done a couple more things. I I oh, this didn't reverse. Okay, I need to this is a new tab. This is I updated this too. So, yeah. Okay, here we go. I basically made it so that when I do LT, it runs it still runs ERD, but it sorts them now by name of the file and folder, and it also reversed the tree because like I've been trying to get used to it this entire time and I just can't. It's just like just having the files above it every time I was trying to have to like manually think about it. It was like too many times I was like, okay, so this is in recording, which now it's in recording, but previously that would have been uploading, and that was like and then finally inside this course articles, as you can see, I updated the structure to sort of be a more Kanban style for me to like see the state of each of them as we're going through. So we're currently oh, I actually finished writing the introduction version of Axum State. Now I just need to review it, and then I can move this into recording, and then I it looks like I have a couple another thing in there too. So let's go into one. Oh, it's in two. So I also added a planning for things that I want to do but haven't gotten to yet. So um, these are all course things. I do have a couple that are not course related. Like for example, the connecting to Redis and Postgres and Axum one-off for one-off. These are going to be these are requested by viewers. So I've added these in here. Then I noticed that I got a lot of views on one of the videos, um, specifically from Helix. Like that was like 50% of the views were coming because they searched for the keyword Helix, and I had that like in a tag on something that I wasn't like necessarily showing off Helix stuff. Hey Stacking, how are you doing today? You did all that and you watched football? Yeah, that I so I went out to where was it? Oh, I went to one of the Whole Foods in the areas, and I just sat down, and you didn't actually shop for groceries there. I like them as a cafe, if that makes sense. Um, and that one was really nice. Yeah, I could. How was the footballs? I didn't pay attention in any capacity whatsoever. Oh, okay, cool. Looking at the that fantasy league you had me join, it looks like I did decently well yesterday. Totally was paying attention. Absolutely done. Not at all not paying attention whatsoever. Yeah, yeah. Everything's random so far. I think I added one person in because there was room, but that's it. And I just chose the top person on the list because I have no clue what's going on in football. I did ask. My one of my coding mentors is a football person, so I showed them the list, and he went through each person and was like, "Okay, this person's really good. This person is the most evil person in the league. This person is blah. This person is blah." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." I don't know what any of that means, but nice. Um, so let's see. We want to go into that reviewing state. So two reviewing. We can see here's that Axum states. Let's review this, and then we can start setting up a video for it. So state in Axum. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe what state is, create a state object, extract the state from a route handler, extract part of the state from a route handler. So I spent a little bit of time trying to put two states into um, the same application or the same router definition. And while it compiles, as soon as you use one of the states, it now requires all of the other route handlers to only get that one state. Um, and if you try to get more than one state out of there, it not even from like the same route handler, it's just like different route handlers. It's really really unhappy. So Maybe we can do that from nested routes, but it actually sounds like, well, actually, no, you can't. The documentation specifically says that even in nested routes, when you merge them together, they all have to implement the same state. So we might be able to do something with like some fun generics where it's like, okay, yeah, they're totally the same state. Um, but it really looks like the suggestion is single state, single mega object. And yeah, big thing is like, remember, it is server state. This is not like meant to be a in-memory database for all of your users. Like that's not what the state is meant for. All right. What is state in Axum? State in programming is stored data that can be updated and retrieved. See, this is why I need to review what I wrote. Retrieved as the program runs. This can be very helpful as we can keep running totals, connections to keep running totals, connections to external systems, and anything else we want to keep in memory but not put in a database. State and web servers play a similar role, but we have to be aware of how the server will be deployed, which will change what we can safely put in state. When we scale up API servers, we'll often use a load balancer that will determine which server gets each request. Most load balancers are set up with a strategy called round robin, where each request will be sent to the next server in a list. This means that we can't know for sure that a client will be hitting the same instance of our server each time they make a request. For the most part, our code will handle this just fine without having to change anything. We need to be careful when adding in state to make sure we aren't assuming that each client is going to be hitting the same instance of the server. This means we only want to store things for the server rather than for the client. Oh, shift. Okay. I was kind of expecting shift J. How about control J? No. Alt J doesn't do that either. Uh, J takes me down one line, but one line within the line, which is interesting. And I was sort of like thinking like, okay, maybe they changed it. So instead of like Shift J deleting the next line, it just takes me down like a real line, but it doesn't. Any state we want to store for the client needs to go in a database. For Axum, we'll be storing things like the database connection. Creating a state. The only requirement for a server state. Okay, so I realized this is we got a Zilby behind us. Let's do something like that. It's easier to read, anyways. The only requirement for a server state in Axum is that it implements clone. Besides that, anything goes. While we can choose anything like a number or an enum, a struct tends to be the best choice for a server state. While the compiler will happily allow us to add multiple states, once we start using them, we'll run into trouble. Axum requires that the type of the states in all the routes be the same. This means that we'll either be using a single state struct that contains everything or creating a generic type. The generic is out of scope for this lesson, so we'll be focusing on single state applications. We'll begin by creating the struct for a state. Let's put it in its own file next to lib.rs so it's easy to find. So, pretty simple to begin with. We can output anything we want into the state as long as it implements clone. I'll put the port and address into the state as an example. So here we have our port and address. Let's create an instance of the state in the lib.rs file, as that is where we have access to the port and address. Okay, so then in lib.rs, we now create our app state. Now let's update the create router function to accept the state as an argument and add it to the routes with the with state, state method. Okay, so we add with state there. Don't forget to go back and pass the app state into the create router function in lib.rs. So that's thrown in there. Our state has now been added to the application and is ready to be extracted in the route handlers. So next section, extracting state in a route handler. Let's create a simple route handler to extract the state and log it using tracing. We use the state extractor, which this URL should go to the state extractor. Yeah, it does. Which works in a very similar manner to the other extractors. It can come in any order, as long as it's before an extractor for the body of the request. Okay, so we have that. So here's our, and then we're extracting the state, our route handler. We can then add this route handler to the route list. Make sure to add it above the with state method, or else it won't have access to the state. Okay, so there's our route. When we hit this route, we'll get a tracing log of the state. So then I put that out there of what that looks like. Extracting a part of the state. This is great, but what if we had a lot of things in the state and we didn't want to extract everything? We can do a partial extract using the from ref trait. Okay, so I should probably, oh yeah, and this goes to substates inside of here, which this looks like it's exactly the same, except with, oh no, I should, just in case. Okay, yeah, this takes me into substates. Now this is interesting. So I chose to put in from ref, like the documentation to here, instead of to from ref directly, because from ref directly isn't that interesting. That's just this. Which is like great, wonderful. That's not as good. To get access to the substates. We can implement the from ref using a derived macro. However, we'll need to add the Axum feature macros to get access to it. Okay, so with that, I do want to update my, oh yeah, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to update the Axum template. No, don't LT that. That's too much. Do I have Axum template in here? I don't think so. So I forgot to do this yesterday. I meant to do it. So we're going to do it right now before I forget. We're going to add in that feature flag for macros. So we can see here we have Axum, but that's just it. So I want to go add Axum, and then we want macros. Did I just try to like save and do something but not exit? I don't know what that A was. Well, I don't know what I'm. Okay, well that was okay. I don't know what that. I don't know what my brain was trying to do. Uh, maybe get status or something. That dash A. Tired brain is funny. All right, so git commit. We're gonna git commit this with adding macros feature for Axum. All right, next time I do a cargo temp, we'll get the macros feature, which will be nice for state stuff. Now we can add the derive macro for from ref, and our editor should auto import the macro. So then we just add from ref, and it just works. Let's update our route handler to only extract the port, so we don't have to get everything. So we do our states, it suddenly becomes a tuple type, so we can extract out that way. We can even get multiple substates at the same time using the state extractor as many times as we want. Probably want to be consistent. Okay, so we can now use state to get both the things out here. The type for the address is a little bit annoying, but that's, it is what it is. Conclusion, states are anything that implement the clone trait, most often a struct, that we can inject into the router using this with state method. This must come after the route handlers that we want to access the state in. We can access the state as a whole, or if we use the from ref trait on the state, we can access the substates with the state extractor. Since states implement clone, we cannot easily mutate the data inside. Therefore, it's best for us to think of the state as the server state, not a state meant to track information for specific users. Database connections and other metadata that the route handlers need access to are cheap to clone and are perfect for the state. Okay, so that's that. Let's go back to objectives. We can set up, and I can pretty much do that exact same example for a video. So what I've been doing is I want to move Axum state to what is it, 3, recording, and just that. So we have two things that I've written articles for, but I don't have any videos for, which is that workspace assessment, the actual assessment itself, and then also Axum state. I'm actually not 100% that I need videos for the workspace assessment, so I might just skip those. I might want to go like rewatch what I did for like I did one of the assessments. I just don't remember which one. I don't remember how I felt about it. But Axum state we can definitely do now. So let's see, we've got you. Everybody out of the pool. Everything's happy with that. Okay. All right, let's create a temporary. I'm going to grab it from the API template, which I believe we just updated, and actually I pushed those updates, I believe. I hope I did. Okay, well, let's find out. So in cargo taml, yes, I did. Okay, so here we have the macros feature for Axum. So we can go and take a look at that. Those are good. That's all happy. So we're going to create. Oh, I forgot to look into this. Okay, so if I close this window here, it'll make things not happy. That's fun. Um, so I think I'll just move over to the side. I remember what the objectives are, right? Okay, so we've got use. Let's turn off. Zilby, you go off. We're going to turn off desktop audio in case the alerts play, and I'm going to turn off alerts. And let's see. State, what is state? Create a state, extract one state, and then use from ref to extract another state, all the states. All right. In that case, we are good to go. Oh, let me start the timer. We're going to go ahead and get started with a recording. I will be, as normal, I will be sort of keeping an eye out for chat, but not directly responding to chat during the recording. Also, this one on state seems pretty simple. I don't expect it to last that long, unless like I have to do multiple takes. But even then, like I chat with you between then. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about state. In this lesson, let's talk about state in Axum. But perhaps maybe before we talk about specifically state in Axum itself, what is state? Well, state in general programming is any sort of like little bit of data that we want to save from one thing to another, with thing being a fairly fluid definition here. So we might want to store some information about an algorithm that we're running. So like to keep that state going, so that way we can like look at that later and not have to constantly recalculate what's going on all the time. State can be stored in many different ways. Like it can be stored in memory, it can be stored on a disk drive, it can be stored in a database. The general idea of what a state is fairly simple. In Axum, it does mean a very specific thing, which is a server state. Now, we'll sort of like see what this means a little bit later, but a server state is basically data that is really there to persist between sessions, like across all of the sessions for all of our users. This isn't meant to be like storing any kind of information for a specific user or like, okay, this user wanted this thing, this user wanted that thing. We don't really care about that in this state. There are better places to store that, usually a database. So that being said, let's go ahead and set up a state. One thing that we do need before we get started, I've already done this off stream here, is I did a cargo add, and we added the macros feature for Axum. We'll need this for the last part of the lesson. So let's I've got a hello world here going. Let's go ahead and get this started. So we're going to do a cargo watch, get that running. So a state. We can create a state with just basically any struct or really anything that implements clone. And we're going to see that that's because it clones the state into every route handler that's using it. That's how it can possibly work in an async environment. This is also one of the reasons why having it store any kind of like user state is probably not the best thing altogether. We really want this to be like state shared across every route. I'm going to create a new file here. We're going to call it app state. And I am going to, if I insert, let's say we want this a pub mod. You added that to library, right? Yeah, there you are. Okay, so I can save everything. No, save you, make you happy. All right, let's create our first state. So we're gonna have a pub struct, well, app state. And we need to remember, we need to implement clone on this. So we're going to derive clone. Also, deriving debug is nice just in case we need to print this out. In this case, we're going to, as part of our sort of like verifying that we have the state. So I am going to save that. And there we go. Our first version of app state. Great. Of course, it's a little bit useless right now. It doesn't store anything at all. So let's put in the port and the address. Those are two little pieces of data that we have right now. In real applications, I probably wouldn't pull out a state until I have something like a database connection that I'm fairly sure that almost all of my routes are going to be needing access to in some way. And database connection does implement clone safely for a pool. So with almost every single one of the big sort of database connectors, so it just works. All right, so we want port, right? So we want a pub port. We need to put a pub in here because it's going to be accessed by our route handlers, and I want them to have access to all of these things. So our port is AU16. And we have our address, and that was an array of U8, and there's 4 of them. Okay. I keep on doing that as if it's Vim, but it's not. All right, so we have our app state here. I'm going to go ahead and create an instance of the app state here in library because that's where we have access to the address and the port. Let's go ahead and do that. Up here at the top of run, maybe right before the create router. Okay, so let app state equals, we'll have an app state. We'll throw in the port is self.port, and the address is self.address. Those all implement copy, I believe, so I don't need to directly clone them. All right. So we have app state here, but it's kind of useless in the run function. We really need to pass it to all the route handlers, which means we need it inside of the router. So let's now go, I'm going to open up our routes mod. And in create router, we're going to say that we take in that app state, and then we can do something with it. So state is going to be an instance of app state, and we can take ownership of it here. It's completely useless outside of the create router function. App state. There we go. Finally, we're here in the create router. Now we can actually do something with this. So I have my router new. We have our layer with the trace layer. At the very end of this, I'm going to go ahead and add in our state. And so that's going to be with the with state method. And then it just wants a copy of the state. It wants to take ownership of that, and it can clone, copy that to everything else. I guess technically it's not a copy. It's just a clone. So I'm going to pass in app state. Now we've made state available to all of our route handlers that are above this. The way that Axum works with state and with middleware and with many other sort of like other of these order sensitive things is that the things on the bottom apply to all the things above it. So in this case, we've just made our state available to layer. Layer doesn't use the state, but it is available to it. So if I don't want that, I can just move the with state up one level, and now layer does not have access to the state. If I create a new route handler, we need to put it above this. So let's do that. In routes, let's create a new file. We'll call it, I don't know, handling state. Call it handling state. All right. We'll mod handling state in handling state. Let me put this over to the right so we can see that with state over there on the left. We're going to have a pub async function handling state. We'll just make it so we can get that 200 right off the bat. And then I want this to be handling state. I haven't actually pulled this in, so I need to do that here. All right, there we go. So this should give us a 200. Let's double check that. We're going to open up ThunderClient. I'll do a new request to HTTP localhost. Here, I'll just grab this panic and we'll change that to handling state. There we go. Okay, so we got a 200. Okay, this would have been a 400 if it wasn't finding it. 404 if it wasn't finding it or something else was going on. Now let's extract the state out. Well, state has an extractor just like all of the other things we've been playing with. So it's as simple as me saying I want to take in a state, and it's going to implement type state, which we can see is from Axum extract state. Let's go ahead and make this a little bigger so we can see all of it. And then the type of state is going to be an app state. This is where it sort of limits us to one state for the entire sort of series of routes. All of the routes, every time that we use a route handler, it must now extract the same type of state. So if I had like a app state 2 or something, I can't actually use that without causing compiler issues. But that's fine. We only need one state here. And if we want multiple things, just dump them in that same state. Okay, so we have you, and then let's tracing. Let's put this in an info. We're going to print out the state. Although it's going to yell at me and say it doesn't know how to actually print the state, so I'm going to use debug print for the state. Okay, you're happy. If we hit our request again, here is that info, and we see there is our state printed out for us. Okay, great. But what if we don't want to get the entire state? What if we like have tons of things inside of state here, and we only want to get like, you know, the port, just one thing, maybe two things at a time, and just leave everything else not come into state? Well, we can do that. There is a from ref macro, or a derive macro, that we can use. That's why we need those macros that we can implement here. So we're going to do a from ref. That just works for us, which means now over here in our route handler, we can change our state to a tuple type. So instead of just state here like that, we're going to use state, and then we can get the port. Instead of app state like that, I want app state a U16. It's not app state like that. It's just U16 like this. So again, we can only have one type of state. That's how it knows what exactly we're looking for. So this U16 matches to this port. Now, if I'm using this sort of method, I can't have two things of the same type. So if I wanted two U16s in here, it won't know which one to get. That would be a problem. So something to be aware of, you'd probably have to create a wrapper type around them if you want to use from ref for this. So then, okay, we can trace the info. So now we can just have, let's update this to like port and port. That doesn't need to implement debug. So if we hit you again, where's our new request? There it is. If we hit you again, now we see port 3000, and we didn't get the rest of the state out there. If we want more than one thing, we just simply use this state extractor multiple times. So if I now want to extract out the address, we can use state. I want the address. Then that type is going to be a state. Now the address type is a little bit tricky. It's that array with a U8, 4 of them. I mean that is correct. It's a little bit annoying to write out. So again, a type alias or maybe wrapping it in some other type if you have like a more complex type in there might be really helpful when you want to get it out later. And let's go ahead and add this in here. So we have our port there. Let's put it ahead of it, right? So we're going to do address, address. This doesn't implement display, so we're going to debug you. And then we'll have ports. Notice we don't need app state anymore. So I can just sort of delete that because we're just going directly into the substate types themselves. All right, so if I save you and we re-hit, we now see, okay, address, we get the address, and port, we have the port. And that's state. That's really all that state is for us. It's a way for us to have a chunk of data or different things collected together into a single struct that we pass into all of the route handlers above, well, the state. And then we can use them inside of the route handlers. We notice that it implements clone. So if I had a different handling, like different a route handler here, it would be getting a different cloned instance of that state. Something to be aware of if you need to do any kind of interior mutability with that. And then database connections are perfectly fine, but we'll get into that once, in various database lessons. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this is helpful, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye. Xanax, hello. How are you doing today? Caught up before the timer went off. All right, so that wasn't too long. That was call it Axum state. All right, so we've got you. You're all good, so we can clean you up. Okay, and that should have removed the entire project. And all right. Okay, so you're moved out of recording. So now I can move Axum state from recording down to step 4, which is uploading. So that would be the next thing for me to do. Okay. So workspace assessment. Let's take a look at what that is. Because we wrote this a while ago, and I've kind of forgotten what was in it. All right, Rust workspace assessment. We have a link to the assessment repo. In this assessment, you will be setting up a cargo workspace that will allow you to have multiple crates together in the same project. This is the recommended setup for using CORM in your project. It can also be helpful in breaking out logic into separate, independent projects. Oh, I guess I'm done with that. So let me change the title too. So this is going to be What, workspace? Workspaces? Let's see. Okay. An assessment you'll be setting up a cargo workspace that allow you to have multiple crates together in the same project. This is the recommended setup for using CRM in your project. It can also be helpful in breaking out logic into separate independent projects. Does SQLX also recommend that? I'm curious. Oh, this could confuse so many people. You have your docs for the next version in the current version. Ugh. Oh, they're just putting up the README file from the root of the project. Oh, I got it. Okay. So I'm looking to see if they don't really suggest uh an architecture of using like multiple crates. I could see using multiple crates in your or modules in your code for like the connection to the database. I don't know if it's like essential, but CRM definitely recommends it and it's in their book. So I'll just keep it with the way I have it written. You will notice that you cannot see auto completions from Rust Analyzer in the subcrates until you set up the workspace. So skills, Rust workspaces. That's what it is. Grading rubric. To pass the assessment, you will need to do the following. Convert the root project into a cargo workspace that includes the two subcrates, double crate and the two subcrates. Let's double crate and some crate. With the server running, the test can be run with the command cargo test. The tests ensure that the above requirements are passing. However, there are some other requirements that are necessary to pass this assessment. Code is formatted. Code is linting. Cargo linting doesn't find any problems. Clippy is happy. You can format your code with the command cargo format. It is possible to set auto formatting on your code editor of choice so that this happens automatically when you save. You can lint your code with the command cargo check. Cargo check can be configured to run in your editor of choice to tell you if there are linting problems. Clippy is an optional linter that goes above and beyond the normal linting that cargo check provides. It's a helpful tool as it can provide alternate, usually better, methods of writing the same code. You can run Clippy with the command cargo Clippy. It is possible to set Clippy to run instead of the normal cargo check linter, so you get its lintings instead. To run all of these checks, run the shell script check.rs. Check.rs? Check.sh. If there is output, it will put it in a file named check.out. It will validate that the tests are passing, the code is formatted, and both the linters don't have any errors or warnings. When you're finished with the assessment, please let Brooks know in Discord. Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I really need a video on this. So I'm going to we can just upload this now. Am I logged in? Let's see. I need, oh, wait, can I do, oh, I turned off, oh, I forgot. I turned off cat and I turned off all the other things. Okay, that should be fine again. So he'll be changed positions in that time. That's fun. Let's see. I should add in a large cat. I'm gonna switch Zilby to large cat for safety, so I can go and look at you. We're good. So I can go back to you. And we are logged in as me as an author, so I can create the article. So this is gonna be, oh, what is it? This is gonna be a Axum workspace assessment. And really, this might be just workspace assessment. So and there, created. So I could at this point in time come back into the courses and just add that in here. If we come back to here, workspace assessment is now available in preview, and you can actually go and look at it. You don't even need to be logged in. It just is there. Everything is a preview at this point in time that I have in there. Eventually, I'm going to probably start uploading things that shouldn't be preview, and then they won't show up on the left like this. But so far, everything is fine. All right. So with that being said and done, I want to so we have done there. Okay, so I'm folder structure of done is just done. So I can move 3 workspace assessment and put you in done. Okay, there we go. So I don't have anything else where the videos are fully uploaded that I'm ready to be done with that. So I guess we can go back to writing, which I don't have anything in here. So that means we can go back to planning. I have a couple things here in planning. I also have some of these one-offs here. So the one-offs, okay, so connecting to Redis. So that was one request, was like, hey, in for state type things, how would I connect to like a Redis database and a Postgres database in the same application? So that could be interesting to do. Just like I've started realizing that I can use the article system to just for everything that we do, as long as it's like some kind of educational type of like video or something, I can then also have an article for this. We could make it free, and then I can just create a little one-off course or something like that that just is filled with like these free ones, and then you can just go and take a look at those. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. I could even make it free where you can like purchase it for free, if I really feel that I want you to like log in to see it. But I don't really feel the need right now. Chat, hello. How you doing today? I'm doing pretty good. It's a new week. It's Denver Startup Week this week. So anybody who is around Denver, either you're gonna go have fun downtown or you're going to avoid it like the plague. There's a lot of people that come in for it. I don't know for certain, but I want to say that Denver Startup Week is the largest of the startup weeks that are like city based. And I know it's spread. I know there's startup weeks now in like many cities. I think that Denver Startup Week started it, was the first one. I don't really go to too many anymore. I'm only going to go to 3 sessions this year, and it's completely free. I just literally show up, and nobody, like, there's no tickets, there's no nothing else. I just like I created an account, and they're like, yeah, there's no badge. It's just walk in. Able the above, hello. How are you doing today? So our Helix starts with this. This is what I set up with as a planning, um, which I I want. I'm thinking this could be interesting to also like show people off, like, oh hey, you're interested in Helix. Let's go take a look at this. You're doing wonderful today. You wrote a Lisp interpreter a few hours ago. Well, congratulations on that. Uh, that must be really fun. I've not done any interpreters before, and especially not a Lisp one. That sounds fun. So congrats. What's next? Like, how are you gonna celebrate that? Or are you hanging out with me and that's the celebration? Which in that case, awesome. I wish that I had some kind of like big celebration, like animation, like uh we can do like fireworks or something. Maybe sometime we'll create those, have them go off. What we were saying earlier, make what free a rest course? Articles like this. So I have these two articles that are either requested. So the connecting to Redis and Postgres in Axum, that was requested by in a comment, which I think is like, okay, that's good to do. Let's do that. And I was thinking like, okay, how can I make this where I can do like the video? I can put that out on YouTube like normal, right? But then I also I can do an article, make it available on Learning, and then also just make that a um how would I make that easily available for somebody to go and just like look at if they want to? I bet I can. I bet I can like figure us out some way. I'm thinking create a either a one-off course for it or create a course for like the free videos and then just have the articles all be preview mode so that you don't even have to log in to read them, and they'll link to the video if you want to, like, if you want also to get a article on it. The Lisp interpreter was shockingly simple, kind of like how trivial it was and how powerful it already is. Your next step is back to OS Dev, and your celebration is a brief break. Well, nice. Operating system dev does sound like, yeah, if I were to compare those two, the interpreter would like come way earlier in complexity than operating system dev would. But the way you're talking about the Lisp interpreter does remind me of um how one of my friends talks about uh, the implementing Git algorithms. They wrote their own Git, sort of like just to see how it was and to learn it. Apparently, there's like a book that walks you through creating your own Git, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is so simple and it's really nice. And then he realized that he could make an entire introduction to computer science course just on that. Like that it's just all of the algorithms that you think about when we talk about data structures and algorithms is right in there. I would bet that it's probably more complex than OS dev. All right. Let's do Helix because I think this will be simpler. Then the other ones are in uh, planning phase, which means I haven't really done much to them yet. But we can write these ones and then start getting them out. And then these also sort of like they're not shorts, but these there has been like a request like, okay, can I make sure I don't only do live stream VODs on the YouTube channel, which I think is a good idea. So these essentially will be those not only live stream VODs. So let's which one do I want to do? Connecting to Redis or Helix? Connecting to Redis was actually a request, so maybe we'll do that one. So I can move connecting to Redis. I want to go to writing. Open you up. And okay, here's what we got. Connecting to Redis and Postgres in the same Axum application. Sometimes we need to connect to more than one database, database like store at the same time. Redis and Postgres are is an excellent example. Are excellent examples. This lesson will help you connect to a Redis store and Postgres in a single application. You'd argue OS dev is more difficult than implementing Git, but you have experience with one and not the other, so I am biased, you could say. I would say from somebody who has not done either, but has listened to somebody talk about implementing Git, that OS dev is way more difficult than implementing Git. So I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But again, I'm with you. I haven't done either of them. All right. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe what Redis is, describe what Postgres is, connect to Redis in an Axum application, connect to Postgres in the same application as Redis, use both Redis and Postgres stores in the same route handler. All right. So that being said, OS Dev is totally worth doing. You should try it out. So OS Dev is like creating our own operating system, right? I like there's all these things that I want to do. I just don't have time to dive into it. That being said, I want to swear that there's a game. Let's see if we can find it on my Steam. I want to say that there's a game that actually like the entire premise of the game is that you're creating an operating system and it's a coding game, meaning that you actually have to code it. Which in that case, that could be fun to try and play. I don't know if I can I search through all of the games that I own? I would have say that I own it. So let's see. There's a little. As a lot of things that aren't coding, if I just search for coding, operating system. Can I look through? Wait, how do I find my games? Not my. I'm so confused at the new application. Do I go to? Oh, I have to change account, change to you. It's not inventory. I saw it for a second, and then I immediately. Oh, that's little things in the bottom right. Then I can go to library, and then I can search for operating system. Oh, but of course it's searching in the name, and it's not in the name of it. Okay, so that's not gonna work. Phil OP has a wonderful tutorial and run through for a simple async kernel in Rust. Oh, interesting. Okay, that could be fun. The game one also sounds interesting because it would be a game, and games are always fun, right? You can't have. Of course, it is also programming. I think it wouldn't be Rust. It would absolutely not be Rust. It would probably be more like some of the other operating like programming games out there would be either an assembly or something like that. Um, I have too many games to just look through and try to find it. So maybe sometime else, maybe some of the time we'll look through and sort of like see what we can find. Clearly, you haven't played FromSoft games. Games are always fun. That's okay. Um, True. I have played actually some FromSoft games, but I have never finished a FromSoft game. It's more of like, oh, I need to spend a lot more time on this game. Okay, maybe someday I'll get into that. Demolroy, raiding with a party of 14. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Demolroy and Raiders. How are you doing today? What were you streaming about? Excellent. You got transferring a playlist and its songs from Spotify to Apple finally working. Oh, nice. Uh, Great work with that. I've used Spotify before, but I haven't used Spotify in a long time. I let my subscription sort of end, and I use Google Music now, which I really like the previous one, but it's now YouTube Music, which is okay. I've never tried Apple Music. I've heard that it's good. You eventually want to expand it to support a bunch of music services. Oh, that'd be really cool if you can like then transfer playlists around from system to system, and then you could just like constantly use all the different free demos, and then you cancel it, and then you wait until they try to give you a free demo again. Yeah, that actually could be really cool. Um, what we've been working on here today is writing articles for courses, specifically in Rust. So we wrote one. We recorded a lesson on Rust Axum state earlier. And now we're trying to decide what to work on next. I think what we're going to work on is this connecting to Redis and Postgres in the same time in Axum, which is not part of the course. It's going to be like a one-off thing that we do just on YouTube. Let's change the title. This is definitely a more interesting one. So Redis and Redis and Postgres together. All right, and we have these are objectives, what we're going for, and then we're just going to start going into it, and we're probably going to today will probably be sort of like looking into it and sort of investigating and figuring out what's going on. So let's get things set up. We'll do a we'll jump into our cargo temp here. Ooh, I have two things in here. Okay. We'll have to delete the other one. Oh, right. I think for the other one, I deleted the to delete folder and that kept it going. Interesting. So I want the other one. So temp, I want the EE. Delete you. There you go. All right, we'll just leave that down there. You up here. We'll jump into Helix. Okay. I have Docker running, so we could spin up an instance of Redis. And I guess we're also going to be talking about Redis itself. So what is Redis? Redis is a I would argue that it's a key value store, like an in-memory key value store. So Rest is an in hasn't changed in the last like I don't know 5 years. It has been like 5 years since I've used it. An in-memory key value store. Let's see, is a fast. How about that? So is a fast in-memory key value store that servers often use to store user data. Definitely way beyond the scope here, but Redis streams are also super awesome. I don't think I ever used a Redis stream before. Like a Redis stream is you can basically take a large chunk of data right from Redis and then you stream little bits of it into your app, or is it something else? Is it more of like you're watching for changes in Redis and you're just getting a stream of that data as they're changing from like maybe some other applications? Oh, a simple Kafka. And to make sure I have this right, Kafka is basically just a stream of data as it's being created. So for then Redis for this is I would say, okay, give me like constantly just feed me anything that has the values for the following keys. And then it would just be like, okay, something dumped it in here and dropped. Okay. Oh, you have a link for it. Perfect. Let's take a look. I got it basically right. Perfect. Excellent. Redis stream is a data structure that acts like an append-only log, but also implements several operations to overcome some of the limits of a typical append-only log. These include random access and O1 time. So again, Redis, if you haven't never used Redis, Redis is a super fun technology to use. It's it might remind you of something like Mongo because it's key value store, but it is so much faster. It is like the entire point of it is not to go to disk at all, but to sit in memory. And because of that, it is pretty much one of the fastest sort of database type things out there, to the point where I might hesitate to even call it a database. Okay, so examples of Redis stream use cases: event sourcing, sensor monitoring, notifications. Redis generates a unique ID for each stream entry. Uh, okay, so we can add to the new stream. So my guess is that we have a single instance of Redis sitting here in the middle, and then we have multiple services or things that are all feeding data into Redis. And so that's what they're doing xadds here to add in something to it. And then we have Axum, or something that's reading it and handling it, that's now registering to say, okay, for every one of these things, stream it to me, I'll handle it. And it basically gets them one at a time then. And it's almost like functional programming, but in a more architectural way, which is it's fun. Yeah, so give me two of these. Ninjatron, hello. Why would you use this over something like a message queue? Uh, I mean, other than history, I think that's it. I think you have like a message queue by default is, once you're done with it, you're done with it, and you never get to see something like that again. This is append only, so I can't ever delete it, but I can be constantly reading it, the very latest thing. So in a message queue, I would expect, so if you were to say like, okay, implement a message queue, I would expect that message queue to be reading and then doing something with the messages immediately, like right away, or as quickly as possible. With something like this, I could imagine that it's like, well, we are not necessarily handling the data from the stream all at once. Like it's being collected into Redis, but like we'll read it when we have time or when it's cheap or something else. If any of you use AWS, one thing I'm thinking about for here for this stream is they have a spot payment system. So you can, for EC2 instances, you can say, when it matches this price or cheaper, give me a EC2 instance, and then as soon as like that price goes away and it's no longer that cheap, kill it. And so you're only going to get through however many things, and you have no clue when it's going to be that price point for yourself. So it's like, but I could see something like this being helpful because the stream just sort of sits there and you don't necessarily care. A message queue, you need that up right away. It needs to be fast. But that being said, there's probably the other thing, streams won't necessarily give you with a message queue. If I grab the message, so I pop it off, I know that I'm the only one working on that message now. But with a stream, that stream sits in there forever. which means that if you have multiple things processing it, it'll get processed most of the time. So usually when I like start with these type of things, I have to talk through it multiple times, and I make no sense at the beginning, and then slowly I start like, ooh, actually that's a problem. I I bet that you really do want to look at this live, and then you have a history. Like that's probably what it really is that you're only looking at the most recent things. And then with streams, you have a history if you really want to go look back and see them all. But that's it. Like you just don't care about anything else. And the fact that it's read only means that you can trust that all the historical data is accurate and hasn't been mutated by something. So it's probably more. I they gave the example at the top of the document that it was for like sensor data, which makes a lot of sense. Like if you have like a temperature system, it could like, okay, it's like, it's 10 degrees, it's 11 degrees, it's 10 degrees, it's 11 degrees, it's 5 degrees, it's 10 degrees. Yeah, and so anything that's like a Kafka stream would then be a Redis stream, but you wouldn't use Kafka for a message queue. You would just use it for a bunch of data that is or is not related to each other, just dumping in. Also, that sounds like a fun project, helping Walmart migrate away from in-store servers. The in-store Kafka streams monitored images from the self-checkout scanners to detect theft and such. That sounds that sounds really interesting. And they're still in store. Nice. That must be really nice to like sort of you do something for a company or org, and like later on you're like, oh, they're still using it, it's still running. It's That's really nice. Most like except for the company that I'm at right now, I can be fairly confident in saying that almost all of the stuff that I've written has probably been replaced over the years. Oh, and it's open source. Nice. That's even better. I like that it's called Cookie Cutter. That just sounds fun. Yeah, that is really cool. So yeah, you get your it's all in TypeScript too. So you have your Redis client, your config. We could look through it, but I don't know if I need to. Oh, Ninjatron, thank you so much for the Prime subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome. Awesome to have you as part of this the subscription subscribers. I don't really know what we should call ourselves yet. Builders. I can't call you all Brooks. That doesn't make any sense. So we'll have to figure something out. But cool. Oh, it's all Apache 2.0, which Apache is open, right? Apache is required open source, or is that not? Am I not correct in that? But that's interesting. But yeah, I probably don't have time or the mental energy to go through all of this right now. But it's interesting that this is here. I'll put this into the VOD description. So anybody who does want to look through this can. So Redis streams sounds fun. We are not going to do as you sort of mentioned. We're not going to do that as part of this. Um, but it's a thing that Redis can do that I didn't know that they could do. So what I've ever used them for is probably like the most basic use case of Redis, which is the in-memory key value store. So you just like it sits there as like a it just reserves some chunk of memory, and you're like, okay, here's like some data. You don't really care what it is. It's like in text form, And here's the key: if when I want it back, give like give it back to me. So like think of it like a I mean, it's almost like a JSON lookup, or I guess you could almost say it's kind of sort of almost like Mongo if you like squint really hard, and you like look far away. But because it's in memory and because it doesn't do all the other stuff that databases do, is when it like looks stuff up, it's super fast, and that's all it really is. And if I remember correctly, they rewrote a bunch of their core stuff in Rust too, to be as fast as possible. It's definitely used as a cache a lot. But any persistent oh, and also there is a way to persist Redis data. So like if I say it's in memory only, that is a white lie because I think by default it's in memory only, and then you can persist it to disk for a reboot or like crash protection. But then it runs in memory. It's interesting. And none of that, we're not going to get into any of that here. And it works excellent as a cache. All right. Oh, and you can use it as a cache between multiple instances. So if you have like 25, if you've scaled horizontally and you have like 25 instances of Axum, you can have one Redis that they're all connecting to and using as the cache, which is really helpful. Okay, Redis is faced is fast in-memory key value store that servers often use to store um to how about this to cache user and session data. It's a cheap. It only writes to disk a few times a minute, so you can't say it'll be there after boot. Oh, okay. Good to know. I thought for some reason it was a only writes to disk when you want it to, which means like you can tell it to do that. Like if it receives a shutdown emergency message, you can then like have it dump to disk at that point. But I don't know. Again, I've not used Redis very much, certainly not recently. And in the past, when I have used it, I've only used it as the in-memory key value store, and we didn't care about persisting because none of the stuff that we were working on would matter if it rebooted. It'd all be gone because none of the other things cared about persisting. So we just used it as a cache, and it was really good for that. Let's see. It's a cheap. Um, I guess like it's a if we need if we need a way to store simple key value key value data and are okay with it not persisting across reboots, then Redis is the way. What is a good choice. It if you have a if you have Docker installed, we can set up a Redis instance locally with the command. All right, let's go find Docker. There is an official Redis image, not surprising. 1 billion downloads. That is a lot. Maintained by the Docker community. Interesting. Latest is 7.2.1. What are you? Seven point two is stable latest. Okay. So I'll probably lock this to 7.2. All right, so down here, I guess that's a little bit harder to see, right? Let's do Docker, um, Docker. Actually, we can. I'll just create a new tab for it. Okay. I mean, that's as pretty simple as it can come. We can do persistent storage, but with Redis, I personally don't care about ever having persistent storage, especially when developing locally. Oh, I can even tell it. There are several different persistent strategies to choose from. This one will save a snapshot of the DB every 60 seconds if at least one write operation was performed, so I can make it every 1 second if I want to slow it down a lot. There's a the Redis CLI is included inside of this image, so you don't. I really like Docker because it allows me not to have to install these things in the system itself. Uh, okay, so I don't necessarily need to use my own Redis conf file. Definitely don't need the 32-bit variant. Right, they have modules that you can use. I don't need that, I don't think. I started going down the Nix rabbit hole this weekend. Uh-oh. The going down any of the technology rabbit holes they're all unlimited. They don't have an end. And sometimes they cross, which means that we can start down one rabbit hole and end up in like a different one. It's like Wikipedia, except it's with technology. Okay, so let's just do this simple one here. This is all we need to do. Start a Redis instance. So Docker run name some Redis. I'm just gonna call this Redis. Put it in daemon mode. Redis OD. I think it's just Redis, right? Yeah, I don't know where that OD came from. Redis, and then I want 7.2. Use Nix on an Actix project, and it was fun. Nix could do the builds and spin up your testing database and Postgres and everything. 'Twas fun. I I do have a soft place in my heart for any of those types of like systems administration, DevOps type things. It's just like my happy place to be like hanging out there and doing that. Oh, Zilby's gone. Zilby left a while ago, I guess. So we get more space. All right, so you're running. I can do a Docker PS, and we can see there it is. Redis is up and running. Okay, so if you have Docker installed, we can set up a Redis instance locally with the command. Let's actually go and copy the exact command we used. Docker run dash dash name Redis, the Redis 7.2. For more information, the Docker version of for running, for more information on running Redis in Docker, see the page on Docker Hub. Page on Docker Hub. Okay, so we got that. Let's also come back. Wrong one. That one. Okay. Probably don't want download. Want something like that. Okay. What is Postgres? Postgres is a full database, a full SQL based, so SQL based SQL database that is how about Postgres is one of the most popular SQL databases it's open source, so they're so it's completely free to self-host, and many hosting systems include an instance of Postgres for free or a small charge. Okay, so for free or a small charge. Well, let's see. Anything else that we need to like put in here? There's not much more. Should probably go find Postgres. If you have Docker installed, we can set up a Postgres instance locally with the command. All right, let's set up a Docker Postgres instance. Now this one's interesting. The other one was maintained by the Docker community. This is maintained by the Postgres Docker community. So theoretically, they're more on top of it, more specific to Postgres. I'm not sure. We can lock it to the latest, which is 16. And then this is this is the basic usage of it. We could also set up a we could set up a what is it called, a Docker volume for this, but I don't know. I'm okay with doing something like this. Now, if the Docker container gets deleted and recreated, all the data is gone, and we need to like it's all going back. So this is like specific. This is very much a dev Postgres instance, but that's fine. So throw you in there. Postgres. I want what is that? 16.0. So let's see. We use over here. We use keyboard cat as our super secret. Oh, what is that? Every time I do, interesting. Every time I do escape and then left arrow or right arrow, I get those keys. That's what those are coming from. And I keep on doing escape because I keep on thinking I'm in like insert mode, but I'm not. So let's call this like a Postgres like dev, uh, as a way to remind myself that this is all the data is gone as soon as this resets. So I will save you, except that OD there. Okay, you're happy now. Please note that if our container gets restarted, the data will be gone. Gone forever. There is a way to persist data in Docker database containers using a volume container. Using a volume container. But that's outside the scope of this lesson. Let's go find a volume container. So specifically start a container with a volume, that's not the same thing. Not a volume driver. Oh, interesting. I just had a meeting set up for me half an hour earlier than previous meetings. So I will probably need to start spinning down in like 15 minutes or so. But that's fine. We'll finish up this little tiny bit of it, and then I've got my fun announcement to do too. So we can spend a few minutes talking about that. Let's see. Ooh, data volumes. I think that's what it is called. Isn't there like a better page than this though? Okay, I think they're data. Okay, so Docker data volumes. Is this the same page that I was just in? Maybe? Oh yeah, volume driver, it's all the same thing. The documentation for Docker I find is like pretty good if you know what you're doing, and it's pretty hard to like find specific things in. I've found. So I guess I create and manage volumes. This is what I want. So you can create a volume, and then you can attach the volume. Start a container with a volume. So really, it's just this entire page is fine. It's fine. So using a Docker volume, where did it go? Oh, I did page down. That's what happened. Okay, so using a Docker volume, but that's outside the scope of this lesson. All right. Pika, hello. Hello, Mr. Axum thing. I don't even know what you're up to anymore because you're drowned in exam. Someone send help, please. Anyways, hi. I'm sorry. But good luck. How long are your exams going for? Usually, when I was in school, it was like 1 week. You just had 1 week of exams, and then you're done. And I am terrible at studying for exams, so I ended up just not studying. It didn't matter. So I just try to like make sure I'm always on top of it all the time, and then exams come. 13 subjects all this week. That is a lot. I understand the being underwater for that. That sounds pretty extreme. All right. What is conclusion? Okay, so the next thing, let's set up this thing so we know what we're going into, which is okay, so we have what is Postgres, and then the next one will be okay, connecting to Redis in Axum. So it sounds like what we'll do is like this: connecting to Redis in Axum, connecting to Postgres in Axum, uh, and then we will sharing, I guess, like accessing, setting up Axum state, and then finally we are accessing Redis and Postgres connections in a route handler. So that will be the rest of this here. You'll pull through, and by through you mean you almost went insane. Well, I understand. I understand. What we were doing on, so we are working on a one-off lesson, so not part of the course, like the full course, but it is an Axum on Redis and Postgres and connecting to both of those together at the same time. So this isn't really teaching like specifically the best way to use Redis or Postgres. It's just going to be like, hey, here's two connections to it. Like, here's how to connect into it. And then also here's how to like get access to them, but not really like anything beyond that. That's going to be the scope of this lesson, as it were. And so that's going to be probably next time. We're going to have to spin down a little bit early today because I just got informed of a day job meeting a little bit earlier than normal. Also, talking about day job, I have a fun announcement. So last week and like, just so far, I'm able to have these streams usually up until around 8:45, and then I have to go do my day job and I'm done for the rest of the day because, well, that's the day job thing, right? Some things that I can't necessarily talk about because NDAs have happened, and it's basically the entire yada yada yada. And now I am able to, or I am now uh, was able to work with the company, and I have been able to reduce my hours at the day job. So technically, I am now contracting with them instead of full time W-2, which is nice. Specifically nice because it means I get to spend more time with you, possibly. It's a little bit up in air what where I'll be like spending more time with you all, because I still am gonna have hours in the morning, so I can't like just stream all day and then work all night for them. I need to be working there at working like at the day job hours where everybody else is. So most likely I'm gonna be doing morning streams like normal, but then afternoons I get off earlier, which means that I could potentially do streams in the afternoon. I don't know. I might do something like a couple streams in the mornings and a couple streams in the afternoons throughout the week to sort of make it like 5 streams. I could do more. I don't know. I think that I'll be. You see this as an absolute win. I do too. I think this is going to be really good. It's going to help me absolutely move the course forward faster. Like right now, the course is just sort of, I'm working on it as I can, which means not at all after work. But now I'll be able to after next week, because this week Denver Startup Week is happening and I'm going to a few sessions and that's screwing up my schedule and all that stuff. So I figured for this week, for the days that I'm not doing something, I'm just going to relax after work and take this as like a micro vacation. And then next week we're gonna play with the schedule a bit. So I don't know. I'll mention it on Friday. I'm gonna do normal streams. I can't do it every morning this week because I have some sessions that I'm going to. So like tomorrow morning, I am probably not streaming because I'm gonna be going in. I'm gonna be going in, and so I want to work earlier in the day to have my afternoon all free. And then Wednesday, I'm not streaming in the morning because I have a session that I'm going to. So I plan, so let's see, Tuesday, Thursday morning, I will be back at the normal 6 a.m. time. And I expect to go until probably around 8 o'clock around this time. I don't know. It's all gonna be up in the air. No more like no known schedule. I'll just probably announce tomorrow's schedule the day before, like during the stream, and then we'll figure something out. So if any of you have actually done any kind of uh contracting work, I would love to hear like what tools you use for like tracking things. I've not done this before. I've talked to people who have done contracting, but I've never actually like uh done that myself. I'm still working with the same teams in the same company, so it's not anything like new on that end. It's just like the business thing. So anyways, this is a lot of fun. And hopefully it means that I get to spend more quality time with you all at various different times. Plus, now I expect you'll be able to start seeing every once in a while a stream at a time that's better for the rest, like people on my continent, because apparently people don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. to watch me over here. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know why not everybody wants to wake up that early. So that being said, um, Togglebit is playing. Oh, a Linux game called The Captain. We could rate him. Togglebit's been talking about potentially doing like Rust. So he might go back to Rust dev afterwards, but I can also see maybe like you don't want to stream. Nobody else that I'm following right now is doing Rust programming. So maybe you just won't do a raid today. Maybe we'll just do that. So, anyways, can we not call you? I love how it's like I'm not calling you out. I'm calling me out, but we're in the same boat. Um. Uh. But yeah, I mean, like, you want to wake up that early? Um. Yeah, but you show up at this early, so clearly you do. All right. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end it for the day. I will be back on Thursday morning, and we'll continue working on this. I don't know if I'm gonna work on this in the afternoons because I think I'm gonna be pretty busy at Denver Startup Week in the afternoons. So with that, have a great rest of your days, and I will see you later. Bye.